Folks, what we usually do now is we usually take questions. If I can answer them, I'll certainly try. I think we may have a couple of roving mics. Sorry, is it possible to open the doors, folks? Because I know I'm sweating up here. I think you must be sweating down there and all. No problem. Folks, I know the bar's open and everybody's gasping for a wee drink. Some people will be gasping for a fag. Some people want to use the toilet. If everybody could do all that with minimal noise, that'd be brilliant. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and take some questions for you now, so the meeting has a wee bit of participation for the audience. We've got one question over here, and I can see a hand up the back, and there's a see a hand up the front. What I'll try and do is take as many questions as we can. Okay, folks? If you don't mind, just give me your first name.
Hi, I'm Bernadette. I'm a nurse, and I'd like to go back to the NHS. I've just received notification through for my registration this week, and it's all about, like, I need to take out indemnity insurance, which for those that don't know, I need to have insurance to make sure that if I do anything wrong to a patient, I've got enough money so they can sue me. But what would happen in a free Scotland? Would I still have cover? Right now I do have cover because I work for the NHS.
What's your first name?
Bernadette.
Bernadette's asked about cover in NHS. Every single contract that you currently have with the NHS, you've got to remember the NHS is operationally devolved. So you will have the same cover after independence as you have just now. I do have to say, however, Bernadette, somebody raised a similar question at one of my meetings, and she was involved in mental health care, and she similarly had to take out a similar type of cover, which she couldn't afford today because the wages were so damn low. What I think we've got to make sure we do in an independent Scotland is we don't accept the way things were and think, oh, that's the way you do it. We have to transform our welfare state, our health service, our education service. We don't just accept the way things were. We actually get people like Bernadette and others who are involved in these industries, and we listen to what their ideas are to make these services better. We know concretely, don't we? When they told us, this Tory mob told us, oh, we've got too many people working in the health service, we're going to contract out cleansing, cleaning the hospitals, we're going to contract it out. Within a few years, what did we have? MRSA and all sorts of super bugs because the hospitals weren't getting cleaned properly. We're not going to listen to them and their privatisation agenda. We're going to listen to workers who actually work in the industry and take their ideas to make these services better. But every contract you've got with education, with health, the pensions, the DWP's already come out. They've had to state categorically there will be absolutely no change to people's entitlement to pensions. They will continue to get their pension after independence the same way they do just now. It's just that in an independent Scotland, you've got a guarantee that whatever rises the highest, prices or wages, that's what the pension's going to go up by. You don't have the same guarantee in England. That's a reality. So hopefully that answers that question for you, Bernadette. There was a chap down right up the back first, and there's a chap down the front here.
Hi, I'm Stevie, and I was wanting to talk about the MOD and about the Trident and all the other things like that. The Better Together group said that we're going to have a smaller MOD, and that might be true, but the thing is, if we take the leaf out of Scandinavia, there's not been any invasions in Scandinavia, and there hasn't been any terror attacks in Scandinavia, and the reason for that is that they don't get involved with Syria, they don't get involved with illegal wars, and they don't get involved with Iraq and Afghanistan. What's your thoughts?
Thank you, Bob. What did you say your first name was? Stevie, I've got to say to you, brother, I would emphasise that in an independent Scotland, we're going to have a defence force. We're going to have a defence force because we've got oil installations, we've got other economically strategic resources. But you know what? I want to make sure it is a defence force. I don't want an invasion force. I don't want to be involved ever again in an illegal, immoral invasion of any other country in the planet. We have got a disaster on our hands right now. A disaster that Blair and his cronies are responsible. I've got to laugh, Gordon Brown's been unleashed. Gordon Brown, what were you doing, Gordon Brown, when Tony was given the go-ahead for an illegal, immoral war in Iraq? Why didn't you stop him if you believe in working class values? Why did we get involved in a war that had nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction, nothing to do with freedom, and everything to do with bloody access to oil? That's what it was about. I think we're going to be known, Stevie, we're going to be known across the planet as a small country that believes in peace, that isn't at war with anybody. I do want to say this, and sorry just to go on a wee bit more about it, I just want to say this. I had a wee pal, wee Gordon, 19 years of age, used to help me give the leaflets in Pollock when I was standing for the Parliament. Gordon was unemployed and he got put on a scheme, a catering course by the Government Job Centre. He didn't like it, didn't want to be a cook. So he went back down to the job centre, and that day the army had a recruiting desk there. And the army offered Gordon an HGV licence. He says, if you join us, we'll get you an HGV licence and you'll never be unemployed again. Because the HGV licence will get you a job anywhere in Britain, anywhere. Gordon signed up for the army that day, done his basic training, was sent to Basra. Gordon's not with us anymore. Gordon Gentle was blown up in Basra. He was blown up because the MOD refused to install reinforced steel floors in the armoured personnel carriers, despite all the warnings they had about the need for reinforced steel floors because of the IEDs, because of improvised explosive devices. We could spend billions in nuclear weapons, but we couldn't spend a few £1,000 putting in reinforced steel floors. See, in an independent Scotland, Stevie, I think we're going to have a defence force. But you know what I don't want? I don't want any other Gordon Gentles or any other kid, any other part of Scotland having to join the army to get an HGV licence or become a mechanic or become a cook. We have to make sure those types of opportunities are available in civilian life, not just by joining the army. Yourself, brother, and then there's a chap at the back here.
Hi Tommy, my name's Bob. I'd like to know what you think of George Galloway's contribution to the debate.
Bob, it's a hard one, it is a hard one, I'll tell you. In every debate, there's going to be passion, and there's going to be, I was speaking to somebody just at the weekend there about, we've now got a new meaning to the phrase mixed company. It used to be about Rangers and Celtic. Now it's yes and no. And obviously there's debates within families, there's debates within communities, there's debates within workplaces. And people are fighting. I mean, there's a group of people, by the way, I've got to take my hat off here. There's a group of people who are fighting with a passion and an energy the likes of which I've never seen before, to save their jobs, their wages, their expense account, their second and third homes. They're called the MPs, Labour MPs in particular. I just wish I'd seen them fighting that hard for other people's jobs, I've got to say. George and I go back a long way. I remember organising the defence of George's flat in Glasgow when the sheriff officers were about to do a pinding, and we stopped the sheriff officers for getting into his flat that day. So we go back a long way, and all I can say is I'm disappointed, Bob. I'm disappointed. I'm deeply, deeply disappointed in George's position. You see, I believe quite clearly that Cuba deserves its independence. Venezuela deserves its independence. Palestine deserves its independence. Scotland deserves its independence. That's the point. I tell you, I cannot understand socialists and those on the left who fight passionately for independence for all the other countries, but don't recognise the right, the democratic right for independence here in Scotland, Bob. So I'm disappointed, brother, that's all I can say.
What we're going to do about MI5, because they're trying to rob this campaign. As you well know, they'll do that. They'll pull a stroke.
What's your first name, brother?
Jimmy.
I don't know if it is Jimmy's first name because he's talked about MI5, but you never ever know if that's his real name. You never know if it's his real name.
Joined last week.
Do you know what? It's a serious point here, folks, because see if you think the state isn't involved right now in trying to work out how to avoid this disaster, then you're very naive. If you've got the chance, if you've got the time, go and read a book by Seamus Millen called The Enemy Within. Seamus Millen's a Guardian journalist, and he wrote an account of how during the miners' strike, MI5 infiltrated the National Union of Mine Workers and placed Roger Windsor at the very summit of the NUM in order to destabilise that union during the strike and to cause as much discord as possible, because they recognised the importance of that dispute. That was a civil war without bullets. That's what that dispute was about. And MI5 was involved in trying to destabilise that union. Don't rule out that they are already looking at ways of trying to destabilise this vote, destabilise this result. We need to make sure that we've got monitors in every single polling station. We need to make sure the registration numbers of the ballot boxes are taken, and the ones that turn up at the counting places are the same boxes they took away for the polling stations. Because what you've got at stake here, folks, you've not just got the British Empire at stake. That's bad enough for them. You've got the nuclear weapons at stake. You've got the whole equilibrium of the nuclear world. Because see, when we get rid of ours, most of the other countries on the planet are going to be saying, hey, why do we need ours? And I'll tell you what it will do. It'll spark a debate in England. Because if they try and place nuclear weapons in England, they're going to say, what? We don't want them here. Why have we got them at all? Every single general, every single person that's involved in the armed services is making the point. It's a weapon that's way by its sell-by date. Why are we continuing to invest billions of pounds in it? That's why MI5 and everybody else is worried about the outcome of this debate. What can we do about it? We can remain vigilant. That's what we can do about it. We've got to make sure that in every single polling station we've got yes monitors. Make sure we keep our eyes and ears open, folks. Chap up the back, and then yourself.
Hi, my name is Stuart Tommy. I don't want to bore folk, but I want to come back to the currency question. And I'd like to ask, from your perspective, do you have any idea why the remaining of the UK would, is there a constructive answer to why a currency union, a formal currency union, would be detrimental to them? Why are they so fucking set? Sorry. Why are they so set against it? Is it just, it's not born, you're no playing with it? Or is there a real reason?
Is it sure? Sure, there was a wee survey recently, I don't know if you've seen it online. It said that people who swear are much more honest than those who don't. I don't fucking believe it, but anyway. Listen, let's be absolutely clear about this. Sterling without oil and gas is a dead duck currency. That's the reality. This is absolute bluff and bluster. And this is for somebody who doesn't want to share sterling, right? I can accept, see, for the first 2 or 3 years we may have to, right? But do you honestly think that they could survive without our oil and gas revenue to back up their currency? It's complete and utter garbage, and it's backfiring. It's backfiring because it wasn't just the opinion poll at the weekend. It didn't just show that for the first time the yes is ahead in the opinion polls. It also showed that 51% of the population don't believe the government that there'll be no currency union. Don't believe them. That shows that it's backfiring. We know that they're lying through their teeth when they say there'll be no currency union. They'll be forced into a currency union. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep it there as a question so that they can negotiate with it after the 19th of September, because there'll be big negotiations between the 19th of September and March 2016 when the actual independence document will be signed. They're hoping to make the currency a big debating point. They're on to plums. We're anti-bombs. They originally wanted to make it a debating point for nuclear weapons. And then we've ruled that out. Nuclear weapons leaving Scotland are non-negotiable. They are going after independence. Sister.
Tommy, I've got two things. Firstly, when, not if, when we're independent, are we going to get our waters back that were stolen from us? Secondly, are you going to stand up and then become the Prime Minister of Scotland?
Both those questions are quite easy. Number one, Tony Blair renegotiated our waters and gave away some of our waters. We're going to have to make sure in our negotiating team we've got hard hitters, big hitters that are going to argue for those waters to be returned. And by the way, when I say hard hitters and big hitters, I don't mean Alistair Darling. I've got to say, Alec, I'm disappointed, brother, when you said, oh, we could have Alistair on the negotiating team. Okay, somebody might have to make a tea, but as long as that's the only role he's got. I'm looking for the Jim Sillars and the Dennis Canavans in the world to be on that negotiating team. On the question of politics, Jackie, I've got to say that's a decision that isn't mine. That's a decision that my wife will take. And right now, I think she wants me to finish my law degree and then we can think about it. So it takes up a lot of time, folks. So we haven't decided anything. The main priority, the next 9 days, is independence. Everything else is irrelevant. Let's get independence first.
Tommy, my name's Ninian. I'd just like to ask your thoughts on Ed Balls recently. He was asked if he thought that Wayne Rooney was worth his £300,000 a week, and his answer was yes, there's only one Wayne Rooney.
Balls by name, balls by nature. I read his wee column today. I've got to laugh. I don't know if you've seen it. It was in the Daily Record or the Daily Pravda. You know, last week, I don't know if you noticed, the Daily Record was edited by the No Camp. No, you probably never noticed because it was just the same as every other day. I tell you what, I saw that editorial today. Very interesting in the Daily Record today. I think the coins began to drop with them. They've lost that many readers. They're now beginning to hedge their bets. We're not saying vote yes, but we're not saying vote no either. They're beginning to realise that they don't want to be in the wrong side of this argument come 19th of September. Balls had an article in it today talking about how we should all vote no and vote Labour for social justice and for a living wage. And I thought, what did you do in 13 bloody years of power? Bugger all for the working man and the working woman. Bugger all. Introduced a poverty level minimum wage, never reversed a single anti-trade union law, and you presided over the beginning of the privatisation of the health service. You introduced ATOS into the welfare state. You were the ones who presided over a tax regime that allowed the multinational corporations to avoid paying their bloody taxes. Why should we believe anything you say now? Balls and his crew are finished as far as the working class is concerned.
Questions about there's obviously been loads spoken about all the different policies for all the different things, and my son has got disabilities, and I would just like to know that in an independent Scotland that these young adults who it's been a struggle to bring up as a single parent also, are going to be offered some stability instead of the constant threats, rug being pulled beneath their feet. You know, it's very, very difficult as a mother in a situation like that to think if something happens to me, there's no stability for these young people. And I'm just looking for a wee bit of reassurance that the disability thing is going to be looked at.
Donna, is it Donna? Donna, I think if we fail the disabled citizens in Scotland, then it will not have been worthwhile fighting for. Because we have to look at our disabled citizens, we have to look at our children, we have to look at our pensioners and say, that's why we want an independent Scotland. I've got to say to you, we want a welfare state that's rebuilt based on care and compassion, not coldness and cruelty. We have a government in power now, because we're all in it together, remember? We're all in it together. Last April, these political cretins sat at their cabinet meeting, 29 of them, 23 of them personal millionaires, 80% of the government personal millionaires. In society as a whole, 0.7% of the population are millionaires, 80% of the government personal millionaires. They sat and they thought, right, what can we introduce next to cut the welfare budget? Oh, I've got a good idea. Why don't we punish the pesky working class folk that live in housing association and council houses? Guess what they're doing now? They're actually giving their children separate bedrooms. And they're claiming housing benefit just because their pay is so low they can't afford to pay their rent. Let's punish them. And while we're at it, let's get on to that really militant group of society, the disabled. Why don't we punish them as well for the crime of going to a housing office and saying, I need a house, I've got a wheelchair, I've got a dialysis machine, I've got a full-time carer that's my partner, that's had to give up their job to look after me 24 hours of the day. They need a spare bedroom to sleep in because I don't sleep during the night, and if they don't get to sleep, they can't look after me. Well, that's fine, we'll cut your housing benefit then. That's what the bedroom tax did. 70% of the victims, 70% disabled citizens, 100% of the victims were the poor. Because housing benefit's a means-tested benefit. You don't get it unless you're poor. 100% of the victims. That's what these swine introduced last April. At the same meeting, they had a wee bit of representation for the chaps and the chapesses, their friends, on 150 grand a year and more. And they said, we're paying too much tax, we're paying too much tax. You need to cut our taxes. We're all in it together. They decided to cut the tax for everybody on an income of 150,000 and above, from 50 pence in the pound to 45 pence in the pound. The result, 13,000 millionaires in Britain today pay £100,000 a year less in tax than they did last year. We're all in it together. My arse. My arse. We, each and every one of us, have to give a commitment to the likes of Donna and all of the other disabled citizens, all of the elderly in Scotland. We have to give them a commitment that we're not fighting for independence so we can change the bloody flag that flies above the local authority buildings. We're fighting for independence so that we can change Donna's son's life and the pensioners' lives and make it more secure and more stable. That's why we're fighting for independence.
Tom again, Alan. We're through visiting through here in Penicuik. It's another amazing turnout. I've got connections to this area. I was 1 year old when I left here. I was born here, and he's got connections. Daddy's a Mary Hall man. He's got family through here. The last time I was through here, I was in handcuffs myself. I'd like to remind you who you voted for, and you can give him my name if you want. I met him 10 years ago. I had the misfortune of meeting him after 20 years, Mr. David Hamilton, your MP. You've voted for him. He holds a majority of 10,000 in this area. With the 20th anniversary of the miners' strike, with the 20th anniversary of the miners' strike 10 years ago, I had the misfortune of meeting him in Mayfield. I believe it's Mayfield Labour Club. I think it is where we met. And the transformation in a human being was shocking. From boiler suits to Armani suits. Mr. David Hamilton, and he's on the list here with the 32 new Labour MPs who voted for the Tory welfare caps. That's what money has done to these people. The other 8 who never appeared for the vote were in their third houses abroad. This is the kind of society we've got now. We've got fear going through the new Labour Party. And like you, Tommy, I'm an ex-Labour Party member. I will never in my life, ever, and that's a promise that I make, never will I vote Labour in my life again. And I've been that way for this. I'm no a nationalist, I'm no SNP. This is a broad-based campaign. If there's anybody who's SNP tonight when they're working together for one, and yes, yes, yes. I'm looking about at the waits here. My fiancée is involved in the York Hill Sick Children's Hospital. She works in sick and she tirelessly works with the Waynes here, and every day she's at the staff. It's a yes, it's a yes, and it's a yes. Because if no, Tommy, then we're going to be privatised. But I remember being lifted with this guy and losing my job. 2.5 years of victimisation and out. And then when I see these people now, it's like talking to new Labour clones and robots. That's what they are. Through our areas where Danny and I come from, right? The Labour MPs are the very same. Left-wingers, right? Militant, as you say, the Alistair Darlings of this world. They make me sick to my stomach. National Health Service workers, 0 contracts. 0% wage rises, and the MPs have voted to give themselves 11% to £75,000 a year. Right? So Tommy coined the phrase squeaky bum time for the British establishment. We'll see our MPs through our way. And Davy Hamill, it's squeaky bum time for Davy Hamill, and don't forget him, and I'm not personalising the guy. They're scum of the earth. They are scum of the earth. So I'm going to finish up, Tommy. Thanks for being back through here. My wee auntie moved to this area down to Liverpool many, many years ago. Right? There's no call. Right? I'm making a statement. Right? She's from Liverpool, Tommy, and this has never been an anti-English thing. Never. We're anti the British establishment. The gentleman asked a question here. The gentleman asked a question about MI5. Stella Remington, for anybody who doesn't remember, first female in MI5 was up to there with during the miners' strike. During the miners' strike.
Please ask a question. Come on. Everybody else has got
I made the statement, Paul.
Tommy, make a statement.
Thanks very much, Alan. I can well understand the anger of somebody like Alan, who's obviously lost his job and been sacked as a result of fighting against the British establishment and fighting for trade union rights. You know, it is quite interesting, the wee list I've got here. This is the savings we're going to get on the 19th of September when we vote for independence, and we don't have to spend £400 million in the London sewer upgrade, because that will be our share. We don't have to spend £5 billion on the HS2 railway that doesn't come to Scotland. That's our share. We don't have to spend £50 million in upgrading the Parliament's gym. That's what they're intending to spend. Crossrail for London, £1.6 billion. That's our share of their Crossrail that we're going to save. And here's one that I really like, you know. Over 5 years, we're going to save £520 million, over £100 million a year, because we don't have to pay in towards the House of Lords. And the cost over 5 years of sending 59 MPs to Parliament, their upkeep, their extra houses, their expense accounts, £750 million we're going to save, brothers and sisters. £750 million. I've got to say, have you seen the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse that have been released across Scotland? The 4 lords in the ermine capes, Lord Robertson, Lord Fuchs, Lord McConnell, Lord Reeds. It's cataclysmic, they're saying, if we vote yes. They've been dispatched to convince us all to vote no. And of course we know in our heart of hearts, brothers and sisters, they couldn't give a damn about low pay in Penicuik. They couldn't give a damn about poor housing in Penicuik. They couldn't give a damn about educational opportunities or poverty in Penicuik. The only reason they want you to vote no is because they know on the 19th of September they're getting a P45. That's why they want you to vote no. Take a couple more questions, folks. Couple more questions.
Hi, Tony. My name's Faye, and can you hear me now? And I just wanted to say, it was just a statement, really, or a point, that the media is just absolutely shocking in this country. Well, the fact that it's been a media blackout on these NHS marches is absolutely disgusting. And we should have a new media on the Independent Scotland.
Faye, I couldn't agree with you more, sister. You're absolutely spot on. The media's role in this debate so far has been a damn disgrace, but you know what? What I think they have not accounted for is they haven't accounted for the social media. You see in previous campaigns, they could get away with feeding us a lot of bullshit because we couldn't check things out for ourselves. Now we've got access to everything that's happening in the world. We can go and check what's happening with the Jarrow March to save the health service. We can go and get this report that I was trying to find earlier from oil and gas people, showing that we've got a potential 100 years resource available to us in the West Coast, not the North Sea, the West Coast. Do you know why it hasn't been exploited? Because it's in the direct shipping line of Trident. Brothers and sisters, what a wonderful solution, eh? Get rid of Trident, extract the oil, that's all we're going to do. And the other thing, Faye, the other thing we've got, there's a wee pamphlet here. I'm going to ask you tonight if you can afford £1 when you leave in the hall, if you wouldn't mind buying this wee pamphlet. This wee pamphlet helps to fund the campaign and pays the petrol money to get us all around Scotland and all the rest of it. Nobody gets paid for doing this, right? But this wee pamphlet's an example of how we're going to win. I spoke at this meeting, as I said earlier, up at Kirkcaldy. Now, somebody puts up on YouTube, 150,000 people view it. We've turned it in. That speech has been now turned into a pamphlet, so you've got the arguments that you can use to the family and the friends. When have you last heard of people tuning in, 150,000, to watch a speech? Right? Come on. Usually it's wee funny things you're looking for on YouTube, innit? Maybe that's why they're looking at it right off. But the point is, brothers and sisters, we have got a thirst for the knowledge and for the facts and the figures to win this debate. We've got it in our hands now, and what we're doing, Faye, is we're ignoring the mainstream media because they have ignored us. We're now going to go and find the news out for ourselves. That's why we're winning this campaign.